obtain the futures they want to obtain. And I really see all of us in the team together. So ask away. So a little bit, I'd like to start talking a little bit more about why we thought the online modality would be good for this degree, and what about online in general. I hope in general we're kind of past the conversation about whether online is better or worse than in-person education. I think there's a lot of empirical research showing that it's at least it is good, if not better. But the way I like to talk about this is that the truth is you can have a terrible online course, you can have a great online course, just like you can have a terrible in-person course or a great in-person course. So much, it depends on so many different parameters and factors, much of which has to do with the instructor and their preparation and the way it's designed and the learning principles inserted. So part of what we do in our division is to help make sure that it's at these efforts, these offerings are at the highest possible quality. So online is really just a modality, and I think it's important to take that into consideration. Over the past 10 or 20 years, what we've really seen is it's a great modality for working professionals and people with families and other obligations, which makes it difficult to even take the time to drive 30 minutes on a particular night or a couple of evenings or maybe weekends. And that newer technology has allowed for that to be possible. So that creates some flexibility, which is really important for a particular type of student that might be looking for a degree like this. The affordability is a big factor for online. There are reasons for different tuition prices across different institutions, but in general, there's not as much overhead in fully online programs, which can translate back to affordability for the students. Convenience kind of goes hand in hand with flexibility, but the fact is, if you're a parent, if you're working, the ability to be able to do your work at 11 p.m. When you normally wouldn't have university on ground open is invaluable. You want to do your stuff at 2 in the morning, you want to do it 2 in the afternoon, it's up to you. And that's a really important factor in online education. And then finally, I like to tell a story from the beginning of my career to talk about networking and relationships, because I think when online education is done poorly, you can isolate people, and that's a real concern with online education is, well, I already feel like I might be alone in this area, and now I'm going to go online and I'm not going to know anybody. But when done well, you can really build a lot of networking relationships, even if you're fully online, nowhere near your classmates. And I saw this firsthand in 2001 when I began working as a program coordinator myself for the College of Education at the University of Illinois. And about 6 months after I started, I had the opportunity to participate in graduation. And about 20 of our 25 or so graduates who had never met each other, and never met face-to-face anyway, were gathering together for the first time in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. And you would absolutely not have known that they had never met each other face-to-face. They knew about each other's marriages and births and birthday parties. And it really was a sea change for me. It was a paradigm shift where I understood if you develop this well, you could have the same, if not better, networking relationships built in this modality. So I want to make sure I emphasize this as I talk about online. So let's talk about a little bit more about the University of North Texas. I know many of you might be familiar, but what's so great about UNT? We're a research tier 1 university. There are only 3% of universities in the United States with this designation. We're very proud of that. That means we have a high research activity, or very high research activity, and that you can count on our material, our content being grounded in research. We've been around for a long time, 1890. I'm very proud to say that we're a minority majority institution. So I think, you know, what's beneficial about something like a bachelor's completion degree, like a BAAS, is that we understand how to serve a variety of different audiences, a variety of diverse audiences, and that's really important. We've recently been designated as a Hispanic official, Hispanic serving institution. That will be, we'll start to talk about that more in the next academic year. We're 42% first generation, which is something, again, near and dear to my heart. So again, that's another group that we understand how to serve, which makes an offering like this from our university, it's part of why we think it's really high quality. And we're not new to online education. We've had online programs for around 15 to 20 years here at North Texas, and all the while optimizing as we go. Now I'd like to turn it over to Stephanie to tell you a bit more about specifically this, what the Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Sciences means.
Okay, thank you, Adam. So with this rise that Adam is talking about in online education opportunities and online students, we took a look at one of our completer degrees and saw the potential for growth. So the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences degree, or a BAAS, is a degree built for non-traditional students who have earned college credit but do not yet have a degree. These students tend to be working adults with full or part-time jobs, families, and other responsibilities that need a bachelor's degree to move on or up in their career. The BAAS degree can use JST and DD-214 military credit, as well as vocational, technical, or what we call workforce. There's so many different names for these. These credits like EMS credit, radiology, those very specific AAS programs, and we can use those towards the BAAS degree completion. This degree has been around since 1974, a very long time, with about 1,200 current majors within the program, and it is only growing as now we are telling people, like, this is a great program, it can help you. There are so many people out there who only, they have a lot of credit, they've earned a lot of credit at some point in their life, and maybe they had to stop education because of family or a job or something like that. And they've always wanted to go back. They need to go back to get that degree and move up in their career. And it can be a life changer. So as we get that word out about this degree and other BAAS degrees, it can really help a huge amount of people reach those goals and inevitably change their lives. So as we have learned the potential that this degree offers for so many students with college credit or no degree, we forged a partnership with Coursera, which is an online learning platform that shares in the mission to bring high quality education to learners across the globe.
So this partnership with Coursera, we are using their platform, which has about 56 million users worldwide, to offer the UNT Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences degree fully online. The reason we partnered with Coursera was because of their platform. One, for technology, it's great. Great learning technology. They have great teams that help us to build these courses and you know, make them work really well for online learners worldwide. And their platform, their 56 million users, is a great place to start when it comes to marketing and advertising as well. So UNT is offering this degree on Coursera. The diploma that students will receive for this degree is a UNT diploma. It will not say anything about Coursera. It will not say anything about it being an online degree. It is a full UNT degree. Students taking these courses are full UNT students with full access to our great student services and other things that we offer to our on-campus students. So this fully online degree will be $330 per credit hour, and that's the cost both for in-state and out-of-state, including international students. we're requiring that prospective students transfer in at least 60 credit hours and have a minimum GPA of 2.0 overall. The fully online BAAS will offer students the choice between 7 concentrations in year 1, which will be the 2020-2021 academic year. We will release administration, organizational supervision, and consumer behavior, in addition to the Google IT certificate that is already offered on Coursera. We'll take that credit in to fill one of the concentration slots. In year 2, which is the 2021-2022 academic year, we will release social welfare and community, media innovation, and hospitality. Students starting in 2020 are able to select any of the 7 concentrations as they work with their advisor.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam and Stephanie. So a little bit more about this, and my guess is that all of you know the value of a bachelor's degree. So, you know, just to kind of reiterate that, pretty oft-cited study here by the Georgetown Center on Education identified that a bachelor's degree is worth about $2.8 million on average over a person's lifetime. That's from the Lumina Foundation that funds a lot of important initiatives across higher education. I think you'd like to know that we're also working with a national economic modeling company where we're looking in deeper to our alumni, and we're proud to report that the average salary of our BAAS graduates is $76,000. And so you can see some of the top employers there, many of which are in the DFW area, but not all. And so, you know, we really feel good about sharing this degree with students who are trying to finish up their work, because it really, there's a lot of social mobility here for them. And often we hear from our students that this not only changes their lives, but that of their entire family tree. I see that question here. I'm going to try and grab it real quick. How is the BAAS degree received by employers? Do they see it as the same? That's a question the same as a BA or BS. That's a great question, and one that I was told is asked a lot, and we've heard it some now too. We're not hearing that there's really any differences. I think that you can see that in the average salary and the type of employers who are employing our BAAS graduates. I think that in the past, maybe if you were going to, you know, maybe some research universities might want to distinguish if you want to go on for graduate school and get your PhD, that there was some designation between a BAAS and a BA or BS, but we're really not seeing that. And it's certainly not having impact on our graduates who want to go direct into the workforce after their bachelor's degree.
So Adam, I would want to follow up on that with you.
Sure, go right ahead.
You talked about the 7 concentrations that students can choose. Does that mean that the degree that they earn has that name, BAAS in hospitality or BAAS in something else? Because we found that with employers, that makes a huge difference if it's a named degree.
Stephanie, maybe you can take this one. I can't remember if it's listed on a diploma. It's certainly listed on the transcript, I believe. And, you know, when you're posting it on LinkedIn and other places, we encourage our students to list their concentrations.
Right. So with this one, those designations are not listed on the diploma. It will be a Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences. And then we encourage our students on their resume to put those concentrations on there. So I used to advise for the BAAS students, and so yes, we had this question all the time. The unique part of majority of the BAAS students is they're coming in, they have the work experience, like they're in their career, they have a lot of that. Now some want to switch careers, but they still can show that they've had, you know, several years of work experience, different from just a, you know, freshman all the way to senior year that might not have that experience. So a lot of times they need a bachelor's degree. Now, if they're going into something like, you know, the medical field or something that's very specific, they're going to need a specific BA or BS degree. For honestly, a lot of jobs out there, and for a lot of these students, they need a bachelor's degree, and this does satisfy that. The employers really don't think twice about it. And they're like, okay, cool, we can now move you up, we can get you to the level you want to be, and we can promote you. So we do get that question a lot, but the students usually have good success. Now we also have a career center who we work directly with, and they help in job placement and getting, you know, the resume right and tailoring, you know, interview practice and things like that to help as well.
We have another question from Mike Turpin, who's Vice President of Instruction at Kilgore College. The average graduate salary is $76,000. Is this at the time of graduation or after a certain length of time? Where'd you get that data?
That's a great question. I just want to say a little bit more to accentuate what Stephanie just shared, and then I'll answer Mike's question. So one of the things just to emphasize that we hear from employers a lot is, do they have a bachelor's degree? Yes, no. And number two, can they do the work that they need to be able to do here? So it's not minimizing the BA or the BS at all, but we really feel strongly that we're offering a pretty rigorous degree. It's not a lesser degree in any way. It's not a shortcut or anything like that. And I think that that's important to understand, is that I think why our graduates are so successful is because they're learning a lot in the degree. And just wanted to mention that too, that it's yes, sometimes it's about checking a box, but that we also stand behind, you know, what our graduates can bring to a particular company. So a great question, Mike, about this. That data was drawn, those data were drawn from our graduates in the last 15 years. So it could be somebody who just started all the way to someone who has 10 to 15 years experience at a company. So we're not by any means guaranteeing that someone's going to leave this program and immediately make $76,000. But what it does show is that over the course of the beginning of your career into your middle of your career, there's some nice growth there. So, you know, we probably have employees, since that's an average, you know, making, you know, into the six figures, and probably plenty of people starting, you know, $40,000, $50,000 careers too. So great question. Okay, so let me continue a little bit more about why we feel like our BAAS degree is a great home for your students. We're really learning a lot, particularly in the last, I think, 5 to 10 years, about what it takes for an online student to be successful. I already talked a little bit about how when a program's well designed, how you can build those relationships. You can create assignments and projects that involve co-creation, peer grading, other things that we see as real successful part of the recipe for strong teaching and learning in this area. But we want to make sure that everyone understands that we have the supports in place for this degree as well. So every student coming into the online version of this degree will be assigned a success coach. What does that mean? That really just means that if you're stuck, someone's going to help you, and help you quickly. It's very difficult to navigate higher education. I think one of my career missions is to make everything in higher education like walking into a Chipotle restaurant where it's 1, 2, 3 and you're out. And my team always laughs at me. Maybe I'm just hungry all the time, but the truth is you can't really screw up that experience. The user experience, the UX, is so simple. You pick your lettuce and your beans and your meat and you're out. We are absolutely opposite at higher education. We're famous for driving students through 47 steps and paper forms and all these things. We have got to simplify, and this program is our best effort that we have, I think, right now to do that. And so you're assigned a coach. We make it simple for the students. We understand you're bringing in credits from here and there and everywhere else, and that you just want to concentrate on being a good student and learning. So we're going to create that atmosphere. The courses are designed as such, really meticulously designed with our instructional design and teaching and learning teams in our Clear Center to reflect that. We design with accessibility and inclusive design up front proactively. We want to make, this is, it's important for me to share with you that this is first and foremost, in fact, it's the #1 commitment across my division, that we make sure all students are included, students with disabilities and everyone. So that's taken care of up front. We have a whole compliance team dedicated to copyright, accessibility, and quality matters assurance check, so that we're getting this right up front. And we don't have to wait for someone to disclose a disability for them to be in that situation and get the accommodations they need, even though we do provide that. As Sam mentioned as well, affordability, I talked about this. This degree is actually priced at 30% less than all of our other undergraduate offerings. We're able to do this because this degree is designed with scale in mind. We anticipate hundreds of people in the program. I had the, and I'll use that to talk a little bit about my next bullet, which is why we partner with Coursera. Sam talked a little bit about the scale that they have on their platform, but I had the opportunity to work with Coursera to release the first degree on Coursera from the University of Illinois about 4 years ago. And what really matters to me is that Coursera is actually a for-profit company with a social mission. All of the things we design on Coursera that will go to these students and be a part of their degree is also offered to groups in need, refugee groups around the world, folks who are incarcerated, and they really do have a social mission, and that's part of why I wanted to continue partnering with them, and they chose University of North Texas. We chose each other for that reason, and so it also allows us to offer the degree at a lower price because we're going to have more students, and we spend a lot of time on researching quality and best practice in high enrollment online courses, so that we don't lose any quality when we yet we can continue to serve more students with a degree like this. So I think that wraps us up with our general presentation. We'd love to hear from you now. Already gotten some great questions. You know, if you have questions about UNT, why this degree, why online, how it can help your students, because that's, again, what's first and foremost in our hearts here is helping students. There are 36 million people in the United States, again, who have started a degree and haven't finished. And if we can work with each of you to help them reach their goals, then we're all doing a good service.
So Adam, we have a question from Ginger Dennis.
Great.
She's asking, are Coursera courses taught by UNT professors? Are the Coursera courses videotaped courses that are then instructor-led for each 8-week period? How are they structured? Because you were talking about having quality and practice, but at volume. So, you know, tell us a little bit more about the faculty and how the course is actually delivered.
That's a great question. You know, Coursera is really the platform and the marketing engine, and everything else is UNT. They have nothing to do with our admission selections or any of the academic decisions. That's squarely with us. That's why we're accredited as a research university. So all the faculty are selected by UNT and hired by UNT and teach with our standards. Not that Coursera has low standards by any means. If you look at the universities they partner with, they understand quality. But that really needs to be something housed inside a university and not a third party. So everything there with UNT. Let's see, the second part of the question was, remind me.
The structure of the courses themselves. Are they videotaped that are instructor-led? Are they self-paced? Is it actually, you know, led by an instructor, or more an instructor being a coach or support on the side? You know, what does it look like?
So with all of our online programs, including this, we try to strike a balance between asynchronous and synchronous. I can go on and on about the research that supports some enhanced learning through synchronous, but we also understand that we need to maintain a level of flexibility. In many of the programs I work with at University of Illinois, and I see some of the same things here at UNT, we've got we have students from all over the world. We've already seen a great international interest in this program particularly. So if we make a synchronous session mandatory for everyone on Thursdays at 7 p.m., and that's in the middle of the night for a student we have from Israel or China, then that's going to be problematic. So we create an atmosphere where there's plenty of asynchronous work and to be done, so you can do that at your own time, and that there's some flexibility in the time where you can contact your professors, whether that's virtual office hours. We create a situation that's going to have some options for students. And then let's say they're doing a group project together. Well, it's up to you and your classmates to find the time that works for your group. So we don't make it difficult for someone who might be logging in from somewhere else. So I think it's a good mix. There's plenty you can accomplish asynchronously, but we don't completely ignore synchronous online learning either.
Okay, we have another question from Janelle Reynolds. What testing engine do you use, and what does testing look like in this environment?
That's a great question. We've been thinking a lot about this as we moved. We had about 1,500 online courses in the spring of 20 and had to move 7,700 other courses to remote learning in 2 weeks. So once we were done with the emergency portion of that, just making sure that we did a good job getting all the courses online, the second most popular question from our faculty was, how do we do exams again? Finals are right around the corner. So fortunately, we have a lot of experience with that. We use Respondus Monitor and Respondus Lockdown Browser for online exams. So really assuring a high level of academic integrity and proctoring, as well as other mechanisms to ensure proper proctoring and identity verifications, so we can make sure that we have the highest level of academic integrity in these ways. But I will tell you too that, exams, while more common, especially in the undergrad space, aren't the only things, aren't the only ways to assess. And so we really take a comprehensive look at a variety of assessments when our faculty are working with our team in designing the courses. Group work, papers, projects, and other things are all part of the variety of assessments that we look at when designing this course.
And specifically for this program, we won't use Respondus because it doesn't talk to the Coursera platform. So for this program, we'll be using ProctorU. And I got a great demo from ProctorU last week. I was super impressed with the testing environment that they provide.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me of that, Sam. We have so many programs, sometimes it's hard to keep up, and we have sometimes a variety of centralized sources. And for this one, we feel very confident. ProctorU is very similar to Respondus. We feel really good about both companies' abilities to serve our faculty and students well.
You had mentioned that you, over 2 weeks, converted 7,000 courses online. And we know that this particular program, because you want to be able to reach people all over the world who are adult learners, you've partnered with Coursera, but the rest of yours are delivered using your institutional LMS.
Yes.
And converting faculty who may not have had experience teaching online or whose courses really weren't built that way. So
Yes.
That's something I think that everybody participating in our meeting today has been going through. So can you give us some tips, some lessons learned based on that experience?
Absolutely. So again, fortunately, we had pretty good infrastructure for this. We didn't build it knowing there'd be a global pandemic, but we had some of the foundational things in place that we needed to make this happen. And so the first thing we did was try to quickly aggregate the resources into 3 different websites. So there's one called workanywhere.unt.edu for our staff, teachanywhere.unt.edu for our faculty, and learnanywhere.unt.edu for our students. And so what you'll see if you go there are hopefully, again, a super simplified look at what needs to what can create a successful experience for each of those groups. We wanted to keep it simple. We intentionally left out some of the more complex information for future trainings, and we do have some tips on there if you want to dig in deeper. But we really wanted to make sure that faculty and students know, hey, if you can just get to Canvas, which is our LMS across campus, and if you can just get to Zoom, you'll be in pretty good shape. And then for faculty, hey, just make sure you at least have a calendar, that your students know their due dates, because they're not showing up in class for you to tell them that every week necessarily. So, and when I have a student innovation advisory board that helps me understand what the students are going through, and we meet every month. If I don't know what's working, what's not working for our students, then how can I be successful in my role as vice president of our university? So we talk a lot, and they're very vocal about what's working and what's not. So that's one of the things our students share is, hey, it's awesome to go above and beyond and have like some virtual reality activity. And of course, we're testing and doing research on the efficacy of those. But what we really care about is what's our assignment, when's it due? So we try to keep things simple. And that would be my advice to everyone, is just keep it simple right now. No one's expecting, world-class courses when you have to convert everything to remote in just a couple of weeks. But of course, what we're doing now is building on those conversions and making each of those courses that much better for summer, and they're going to be even that much better for fall. And again, we had 1,500 courses already that went through our 4 to 6 month full treatment. In addition to that, I'd like to share that we have something called Course in a Box. So even before the pandemic, we had more demand than supply. And so we had to start developing some materials for faculty to do a bit of DIY work. And so we basically opened our playbook up and shared it transparently with all of our faculty. So if in our full development process, we are fishing with the faculty or fishing for them, our Course in a Box is kind of teaching faculty how to fish for themselves. And of course, those include a couple of consultations, so we don't just leave people to on their own. So that all of those have been pretty successful and have allowed us to transition the entire university to this these remote efforts for now. And as we start to think about what we're doing in fall, how we will re-enter in a more blended state. So happy to talk more about that. But those are some of the principles that your students will see too in this program if you feel comfortable recommending them to this.
So we have one detailed technical question, which is, does UNT have Zoom integrated into Canvas? So answer that, and then I've got a follow-up that's broader.
Yes, Zoom is integrated into Canvas, and it works very well.
Okay, so now I have the follow-up. So we've known for several years, and I know you're new to Texas, but several years ago we had an extensive period where we had ice storms and we weren't able to go to campus for over a week. And so that, in conjunction with some tornadoes and floods and other kinds of things that keep people from being able to access the campus, had identified a need for contingency planning and the ability to move online if we had to. And then with this, it's really heightened that need. And so you talked about the support you've done short term to help people move their courses from the face-to-face to online, the fact that you have intensive programs for people who are going to be teaching online, but then also the sandbox where people can do things themselves with some support. Is your institution going forward for summer, fall, and beyond, even for face-to-face courses, going to be training everyone more intensively so that they can have a fully built online presence? Is there going to be a requirement that all courses be able to convert to online at any point if they need to? What are y'all thinking about?
That's a great question, Christine. So, we are trying to take the silver lining in all this. Obviously, this is not how we ever wanted to help more people understand the value of teaching digitally. But the fact is it's here now, and we're trying to work with that as best we can. So, before the pandemic, what we'd often see is a faculty member would spend some time with us to convert their course online, they would tell us two things. Number one, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Number two, I'm so glad I did it. And we take that as a point of pride, and knowing that it's a pretty rigorous experience, but that they can then, for the remainder of their career, have these digital tools to either, to enhance what they can do in their course. And so, we've heard a lot of the same over the past month here at UNT, where this was a really difficult time, particularly in such of a rush. But now we're starting to, we've raised the confidence level of a lot of faculty who are reticent to jump into this space and really didn't have to necessarily. But now they see, hey, I don't have to do this by myself. I have a support system around me. I see that this and this and this could be enhanced by doing it online. So I'm going to take the best of both worlds. And when we return to campus, maybe we can do the things that, if we're so fortunate to have the ability to teach in person, that we do the things that work really well in person, and then do some of the things that do really well online, like one-way lecturing, for example, that really can be more easily consumed online. You can pause, rewind, etc. So what we did this summer, actually, for all of our summer faculties, over 500 courses, we automatically pushed that course in a box training and Canvas shell to every single instructor. And I worked with our provost, and we're providing some small task payments to the first 100 faculty who went through the training. And I think we actually expanded it beyond that to incentivize faculty to jump into this with us. So that's what summer looks like. For fall, we're also thinking about doing a version of this. It may not be for all faculty, but it's going to be for certainly for all of our faculty teaching all high enrollment courses and courses that have high international enrollment, because we know we're going to have to do some kind of a blended experience, if not have those be fully remote even for the fall. And we're working on that plan now, as I'm sure all of you are. Thinking about what reentry looks like in August is extremely complex. I'll say in my 20 plus years, one of the most challenging problem-solving activities that I've been a part of, but it's also kind of exciting, and to put our students and faculty and staff's health first, but still know that we can provide them with a world-class education is something certainly worthy of our time.
So I have a question about how you help students identify for themselves whether or not an online program is good for them, whether they're prepared well to work in this kind of space. What do you do to help students self-assess, or if they start struggling to get the support they need so that they can succeed? Because I do think that your demographics are very much like the demographics of the community colleges as well, being majority minority, lots of first generation students, and HSI. And so whether it's students who never planned to go online and who are now currently online because of what's going on, or even more specifically, those who would perhaps select an online program like the BAAS, what do you do in terms of preparation for them?
So I think of that as a three-pronged solution. Number one is, before we even know who you are as a student, we're designing these courses in a way that's going to give the student the best chance for success. They're never going to be lost in the course. They're going to know exactly where the materials are. The information is chunked in bite-sized consumable modules so that they don't feel overwhelmed. We don't advise our students, particularly working professionals, to take 5 courses a semester. That just doesn't work well if you have a family or you're working. So that's number one. First and foremost, that has to do with the design before we ever meet the student. Number two is having that success coach there for you all the time. So if you get stuck, if something happens, if you're going, if you've been laid off or something, we're there to help you figure out what the impacts on the courses you're taking at the time of the course you're taking, and how you can start, stop, re-enter, etc. And then finally, this has to do with, we have a pretty comprehensive orientation that we take all the students through. And we designed that orientation, particularly in this program, with students at a distance in mind. They're not going to come to the orientation and hear, you know, when you come to Denton, Texas, you're going to do this. You know, it's really customized for them. We don't assume they're ever going to come to Denton unless hopefully they get the opportunity to walk across the stage. When we can get back to doing that together, that we of course invite our students to do that. But other than that, we have to reach them where they're at. So between those three things, we feel pretty confident that we can serve students well.
I'd also like to add to
Go
that.
ahead.
So when we're not in a pandemic, I mean, the advisors, the success coaches that will be working with these students, have that conversation with them to decide, okay, you know, can you be an independent learner, or do you always need, you know, the teacher there in front of you? Are you organized? Do you have the time management skills that you need? So that conversation is happening with these students. That's the last thing, you know, an advisor or anyone at the university wants, is a student getting into something that they're not, you know, prepared for, or they're not suited well for. So if, you know, a certain program isn't going to work for them, then we figure out, okay, what will work for you? Now during this time, really weird time with the pandemic, all of our student services have had to also go online. So even though a student, you know, online might not be the way that they want to go, at least, you know, these student services like the Career Center and the Learning Center, tutoring, all of these things have gone online as well, and they're providing those services to the best of their ability to support these students. And so, you know, UNT has been good at trying to put out those resources and say, use this, use us, you know, talk to your advisors, talk to us. Because inevitably, you know, we want the students to be successful, and the student services here have done a really good job at getting prepared for that.
So that actually, go ahead, Adam, and then I'll ask the next question.
I was just going to say that's a great point, Stephanie. I appreciate, you know, we're here today to talk about the online version of this degree, but you know, if we feel like there's a student that's a better fit for our blended hybrid or in-person program, we would absolutely advise them to that. And we have a wonderful program that's based in Frisco, Texas. Although students can take courses from Frisco or Denton, but you know, today, right now, you know, it's pretty important that we, you know, we're really talking to people about the online version, given what's going on.
So my follow-up question, you had talked, Adam, about how with this program, you've really simplified those steps to getting into a program, getting into a university that can sometimes be difficult. You had said, you know, sometimes there are 47 steps that people might have to go through to get admitted and, you know, go through all of those onboarding processes, and that you've simplified it here. And Stephanie, you had mentioned just a moment ago about how the student services and tutoring and everything had been moved online due to the pandemic. But I'm wondering, you know, probably our students who are at a distance, whether permanently in a program or temporarily, would need those kinds of things online, student services that may not have been available. And so it might have shown a spotlight on places where we weren't serving students as well as we could. So can you talk about what you've done to simplify onboarding, first of all, because I think a lot of institutions have done that in an emergency, and we would hope people would continue those practices even when people can go back to campus, because why make people go through steps they don't need to go through? But then also what the student support looks like in an online program like this.
Go for it, Stephanie.
Yeah, so we definitely have seen the need for a lot of these student services super quickly to get online. And it's interesting because being in digital strategy and innovation, that's our whole goal, right? Is to provide the same quality student services to the online students as to the on-campus students. So it has been an interesting time for us because we've been working on this, but this made this happen so quickly, what's going on in the world, that I think it has opened the eyes of a lot of people who were used to everything on campus. They're seeing the value in online services, not only for students who are still going to be on campus, but also, yes, we've noticed that that's the challenge, right, is bringing the same quality to the online students and making sure that they are getting that same attention. And I think in higher education in general, it's not quite there. It hasn't gotten there yet, but this time is definitely showing everyone that it's necessary.
And right before the pandemic started, Stephanie and I were having brainstorming sessions with various groups across campus that provide services to students that were saying, like, listen, this is an area we're weak in, and we want to do better, but we don't know where to start, and we just need some guidance on this. So Stephanie and I had met with, I don't know, 4 or 5 different groups, kind of leading up to everybody, moving off campus and in the pandemic. And, I think that we do have a high interest from our groups that are providing student services to do this well. And, now with this newer division that was created when Adam started at the university about 1.5 years ago, we have the tools to be able to help those different offices around campus to provide their high quality services to online students, especially, now and then, into the future with our fully online BAAS degree as well.
So for any of our community colleges who have students who might want to move into the BAAS program, what are your recommendations in terms of how they can advise them, how they can best connect them to you to make that transition? Because many of the colleges have transfer centers, with people who are available, but we find that for the most part, and it's because historically, about 95% of people had an academic degree rather than, or traditional BAS, rather than the BAAS. And so we're finding that even educating ourselves, our own higher education professionals, about the fact that this degree exists is something that we're continuing to do in terms of outreach. What would you say to all of the community colleges who are going to be sending students to you about how best to connect them with you?
So Stephanie, first, I think it would probably be a good idea to share the website in the chat. So our top of our funnel is the Coursera BAAS website. And through that website, students can reach out to a Coursera enrollment coach who will get them started on their pathway to this degree. So they kind of go through, what to expect. They answer questions, lots of those important first steps that are kind of rushed for a student. But with this program, that Coursera enrollment coach is really going to work with them to make sure that, 1, this is the right program for them, and 2, that they're qualified to step into this program. Then the Coursera enrollment coach will connect them with an advisor where the student will share their unofficial transcripts and get a degree plan from the advisor. So the advisor will evaluate their transcripts and then share with them what their pathway to a degree might look like. And this is all before the student applies, because we want the student to really have an idea of what they're signing up for, especially as we think about these students being the non-traditional student that's working full-time or has a family or other obligations. We want them to know exactly what they're signing up for and what it's going to look like for them and all the supports that they're going to have in place. So then once they have decided, yes, this is the pathway for me, this is what I want to do, they will fill out their application, and Coursera has created some great video help for that application through Rhyme. So the student can actually watch the video for how to apply via Apply Texas, which we all know can be pretty complicated. So they're watching this tutorial while doing it on the other side of the screen. So it tells them exactly what college to select, because, you know, there's UNT Denton, there's UNT Dallas, you know, so it tells them where, you know, what UNT to select, what college to select, what program to select, and then helps them kind of know what the questions are asking when it says, you know, your parent information or whatever information it's gathering. What does that mean, and how do I fill that in? So that support has been huge for students as well, walking through that Apply Texas application. And then the success coach being able to touch base with the student all throughout that process. How are you doing? You know, do you have any questions? What concentrations are you thinking about? Why would you think about those concentrations? Let me help you, you know, think about why you want this pathway and how you're going to use this pathway to your benefit. And all of those things are in place so that the student never really feels like they are trying to navigate this alone, that they have people that they can go to with questions, or, you know, like when they're breaking down in the middle of the night, like, what am I doing? You know, they can send an email and someone will reach out to them, or they can chat on Coursera. So they have all of these safety nets, I guess, in place to help them know that this is right for them.
And so this is available only for the BAAS course through Coursera, this kind of step-by-step guided support? Or is that something that's available for all UNT applicants?
So for right now, the step-by-step application support is only available for the BAAS on Coursera, because it is very specific to, here's how you select this program, here, you know, all of that. It's very program specific. But yeah, I think, you know, we've talked about like how we can make it a little simpler for other programs as well, because that Apply Texas website can get cumbersome.
Yeah,
that's right.
Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's right. Yeah. So, you know, I really do think we've accomplished a lot in a short amount of time with our new division. We really wanted to put all the things that Sam and Stephanie just talked about into this very special program. But we will use this as a model for our other online programs as well. And I even have a new arm of our division. It's called Digital Growth, and really is taking a look at the comprehensive life cycle of a student, and particularly a student at a distance, and what they need across all the touch points to have success. And so it's really a huge effort around the user experience and making sure it's a kind of a home run across all of our programs. But this is the program we're leading with, and we feel very excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the ideal model, because it has it's a program that has the broadest opportunities for students, no matter, you know, what courses they've taken so far. And it sounds like you've built it in with the ideal supports. And so it can be a model for your existing courses as well. So we are at the end of our hour. Thank you so much for sharing information about your online BAAS program and the way that you've used Coursera. And in addition, just talking in general about the things that are going on at UNT during this time and sharing your wisdom with us. For everybody who's on the webinar, Stephanie has put in the link to the BAAS program in the chat. And this entire program has been recorded and will be posted on our website in just a few minutes. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this week's Lunch and Learn.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
So thankful for your time, and a special thanks to you, Christine. Thanks so much for giving us this.
Yep, thanks for being with us.
Take care.
Bye.